Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Central Virginia fishing report with Ethan Martin of TaleTellers Fly Shop. How you doing, Ethan?
I'm doing good today. How you doing?
I'm just trying to stay out of trouble and work on my fishing deficit. What's going on in downtown Lynchburg?
Well, it's been active. I mean, we finally opened pool hours. Still, people wearing masks and all that jazz, but so it's been pretty busy. I mean, the fishing has been really good, so it's got people going outside and getting on the water, which is what I like to see. And then I've been able to get out some too myself, so we're all happy.
Well, that's awesome. Well, why don't we break it down? Because you're kind of lucky, right? So you've been hot, but you got a nice cool snap and you've got some water, so trout fishing is hanging on. So why don't we do trout first, and then we can do smallmouth. What do you see on the trout front?
So like the small streams around here, we've been slowly seeing transition into more terrestrials. So like ant patterns. I mean, it's all still going to be dry fly stuff. That's been pretty nice. Ants, beetles are going to be the main go-to around here because a lot of our small streams don't see like a lot of hoppers, that sort of stuff. That's going to be more like buffalo, which is just over the mountain from us. So if you're on this side of the things, I mean, terrestrials is what it's going to be starting about now. Not huge ones quite yet. And then that it'll just remain pretty much terrestrials as long as the trout season keeps going into the summer, which, like you said, it looks like we're going to have a little bit of a cool down the beginning of next week, which I think will make the trout fishing hang on a little bit longer. Main thing that we're looking for is just the temperature of the stream. You don't want to be fishing it if it's over 70 degrees because you can actually kill the trout when you catch them and release them because of the buildup that they get from the stress. So like that, I think it'll probably push us through June because we're getting that extra influx of water. And we've had good water flows so far now too. It's crazy to think it's June now, but so yeah, it should keep hanging on for a good bit longer. If we keep getting this like rain every other week and then it stays cool, then that'll be pretty nice. I mean, it's funny that I'm saying that today that we're recording, it's 90 degrees here, but it is supposed to get a little bit colder.
Yeah, but I mean, that's good. I mean, we're recording this on the 10th of June, and, it's kind of nice because, you can get the best of both worlds where it's cool enough to kind of hold on to the trout, but not so cool to take the smallies off the bite and actually make it comfortable to spend a day in a boat floating down the river chasing those.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what I've been doing more of that as just floating over for smallmouth because I do enjoy that. And it's been pretty good fishing. I mean, the numbers, it'll keep increasing as the summer continues, hopefully, fingers crossed. But we've had some decent numbers days so far, and it's mainly been like a bait fish bite. So like anything that looks like a minnow and then stuff fished on the bottom still. I know there's probably people out there that have been throwing poppers. I've heard of a guy that there was two guys actually that came into the shop and said that they were already catching them on poppers on the surface. That is going to be a little bit more of a rarity for right now. But like on Saturday, we had a float trip, and like I was telling you before, it wasn't a very big fish. It was maybe like one of those little 10 to 12 inch fish. And I get him up to the boat to unhook him, and then he hacks up like a 4-inch long minnow. So it tells you pretty much what to eat, and you'll see that all summer. But so it's just a good idea if you're going out right now for smallmouth to be throwing bait fish patterns or stuff that's going to get on the bottom. And it's been good. So if you can get out, get out.
Yeah, do you have any patterns you like more than any others for imitating the bait fish and for bouncing along the bottom?
Well, it's going to be a lame one, but I do like the Kreiser minnow or a half and half. That's been one of my favorites for a pretty long time, just because they're easy to make and you can change the colors a ton. And they get down deep if you want to, but you can also just cast it and start stripping right away. But that to me is one of the number one patterns that I throw for them. Now the other thing I do like throwing. It's called a boogeyman. It's Kelly Gallups pattern. I like throwing those too, or like dungeons, that sort of stuff, in a white or kind of a natural looking color. All those, that kind of covers you for the stuff that's going to be subsurface. If you're looking for stuff that's going to be not quite as deep, so like maybe from 1 to a foot deep on just a regular floating line, Game Changer is always a good one. And then one of the ones we've been making that kind of is just imitating like a topwater plug, or like maybe even like a whopper plopper, anything like that. It's basically just tying up a Game Changer and then putting a white popper head on that. So it's going to stay in the surface, or you can put an intermediate line on and it'll kind of swing up. And then as you pull it, it's going to make it dive under. So that's another good one, or a swing and D. It's essentially the same concept. I know fly names for some people are overwhelming, but there's a lot of good patterns to change what action you want to get out of a fly.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any color combos you like on your Clousers and your deceivers more than any others?
I like an all white with a pink in the middle. Funny enough, I've caught, it's one of those confidence things, I think. And then pink just seems to be a really good color. And then another one that I do use a fair amount is like a dark blue on the top with all white on the bottom. I mean, I do like chartreuse over white. What other colors? The gray over white, pink over white, chartreuse and pink. I've got all sorts of colors, but pretty much the ones that I always end up going back to are the all white with a pink. It's kind of like basically make it a half and half. So you've got your white saddle coming off the back. You've got white bucktail underneath. And then when you go to do the top layer of bucktail, I do just a small amount of pink right in the middle, and then top it off with white. And that's been one of my favorites. I use those things all over. I was using them in the surf, just surf fishing when I go down to the beach. Caught blues on it, striper, smallmouth, largemouth, pretty much any sort of predator or bass is going to eat that thing.
Yeah, and the great thing too, even though a lot of people don't think about tying when it starts to warm up, they think about fishing. If you're interested in learning how to tie, or you want to do more patterns, I mean, the Clouser is an easy pattern to learn how to tie. It's big and it's not fiddly, so it's a great time to maybe go buy a vise and some deer tails and get after it.
Yeah, that's one of the top beginner patterns that I show people that are looking for smallmouth, because you really don't need that much stuff. Like you said, if you've got a vise and some thread, I just give people like the Daiichi 2546, 1 pack of hooks, 1 pack of eyes, and then a bucktail. And you're pretty much in the game. And, you can go as crazy as you want, but you don't have to, especially when you're just getting into it. So it is a nice pattern, especially because you pretty much know once you crank out 2 or 3 of those, even if it doesn't swim beautifully, because that's one of the things that I have people that come in there like, I can't make a Clouser that swims right. And what's funny is, fish trigger into injured bait fish. That's one of the fish's triggers. If bait fish is injured, or he's swimming on his side, or he's doing something funky, then fish like to figure out what's going on. That's what I always tell people is, man, even if your fly tying sucks, if you can't make the thing, swim right, air quotes, it doesn't mean that a fish isn't going to eat that thing, because he could eat it more. You just might not cosmetically like it, or it might not be one that you post on your social media page if that's what you're into. But yeah, it's definitely, it's not an expensive pattern. You don't have to worry about, losing it in a rock ledge or tree or anything. Because they don't really take that long to make. But yeah, that's a good pattern.
Absolutely. And folks, remember, we love questions on the Articulate Fly. If you'll send us a question for Ethan on the Articulate Fly Facebook page, if we read your question, I'll send you some Articulate Fly swag, and you'll get into a drawing for something cool from the shop at the end of the season. Before I let you hop, Ethan, and go grab a beverage and dinner, why don't you let folks know where to find you downtown Lynchburg and on the internet?
Yeah. So like I said, right now we are open full hours, and that is at 920 Commerce Street in downtown Lynchburg. So you can come in anytime, and we can chat about whatever you need to chat about or whatever you'd like to chat about. And there's lots to do around here. So you can come here and stop by the shop. Then you can just go right to the James, which is like, I guess technically it's 2 blocks from us. Fish for smallmouth down there. And if you can't make it down or you don't feel comfortable, we're still doing like curbside pickup and free shipping on all online orders. So if there's something that you're looking for, you can always just shoot me an email or Instagram or call the shop, anything like that, and we'll get you sorted or try our best.
Absolutely. Sounds like a plan. And, folks, before it gets incredibly hot and humid, like it always does in Central Virginia in the summertime, you owe it to yourself, chase some trout, and get after the smallmouth. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Ethan.
Tight lines.